Hello, and welcome to another workshop with Touro Graduate School of Technology. We would like to introduce Professor Sarwat Zabeen, who is a data scientist and PhD researcher specializing in AI safety and reinforcement learning from human feedback. With expertise in machine learning, data analysis, and model optimization, she develops innovative solutions to ensure safe and effective AI.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's workshop, which is yet another workshop in the data analytics workshop series, data analytics in advertising, measuring and optimizing ad performance. Now, this might apparently sound a marketing problem. It is a data analytics problem because remember, this is about measuring how well your ad is performing. So why is it important? We need to answer the simple yet very complicated question of whether our advertising campaign worked or not. So this is what tonight's workshop is about. The agenda are advertising effectiveness measurement and introduction, measuring advertising effectiveness with experiments, and then optimizing with A/B testing. So you see the data like global ad media spending went over $1 trillion in 2020 in just last year, and it is projected to grow at 7.7% to 1.1 trillion. So it's going to go even higher. So these numbers alone can highlight how important it is to measure the effectiveness of an ad. Think of it as an investment. Like if you are investing in stocks, you would want to track the performance of the stocks that you invested in. Similarly, the marketers are spending trillions of dollars. They need to track like how well their investment is performing. So there is this famous quote by an advertising pioneer, like half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is I don't know which half. So like I said, it can be a little tricky, like just to isolate the effect of your advertising, but there are ways to, go around it. So we're going to discuss that tonight. The metrics are the metrics that you will be using to measure the effectiveness of your ad is rooted in the SMART goals. Now, I'm assuming that you guys know the full form of SMART, like specific, measurable, achievable, result-oriented, and time-bound. So these are the overarching organization goals that shape the department-specific KPIs. So let's take an example of an hypothetical company, like a small business. Sarah is the owner of Bean Bliss Cafe, a cozy coffee shop in a college town. She has been running her business for 3 years and relies on both foot traffic and online orders to keep her sales steady. However, with new coffee shops popping up in the area, Sarah wants to increase her customer base and boost online orders. So now her goal is to get 10,000 website visits. This goal will not be achieved on itself. So she probably has to spend some money on some campaign. So Sarah's KPI could be monthly number of monthly website visits, and she can launch an ad campaign to make people aware of the coffee shop and encourage visits, so which sometimes marketers call awareness campaign. And now the question is, will the number of clicks alone give her the effectiveness of the ad? What do you think? So she is launching a new campaign, and she maybe this is a digital campaign. So she has email list, and she emailed a bunch of people, and she is just trying to assess the performance of the ad by the number of clicks. Will this be effective? Why and why not? Measuring clicks alone won't be effective because let's say someone was working on something when that person came across the ad, but did not click on it because she was busy. And then later on, before going to bed, when she had some free time, she remembered, oh, there's this cool cafe that opened in my neighborhood, and I do want to check that out. So she Googled it and landed on the website. Now, this is the effect of the ad. This is essentially the effect of the ad, but it did not generate the click, but it is still the stimulus is the ad. On the other hand, like there could be a scenario where like someone already knew about the Bliss Bean Cafe, but like and he or she was going to visit the website anyway, but when they saw the ad, they remembered to do so. So here, the ultimate stimulus is not the ad. It was the word of mouth that they heard from their friends and family. So in this case, we are overestimating the ad, and maybe the marketing dollars are being wasted here. So we don't want either of this, like this one. We don't want this one or nor this one. So we want to accurately measure the effect of the ad. So there are several methods. One is experimental, another is observational. The experimental one is more scientific because it is planned, it is very rigorously planned, whereas the observational is like you make do with what you have, there is no planning involved, and also less scientific. So let's dive deeper into experiments. Like I said, it has to be a very carefully evaluated experiment, a setup to the design has to be very carefully evaluated in order to for you to draw that this campaign or this boost in sales or whatever KPI you are interested in is the result of the ad. So it is often compared with one group of people who are exposed to the treatment. In this case, the treatment is ad. Remember, experiments is something that is not used only in advertising campaign. It can be used in many other contexts. For example, clinical drug testing, things like that. But tonight's topic is just limited to advertising. So the concept is similar. Is there is a one group of people who are exposed to that, and the other group who are not exposed to that. So you see the left group, which are exposed to the ad, looks very similar to the group that is on the right, a very good mixture of different type of demographics. And only then you can assume that the increase in sales that you are seeing is actually the result of your ad. Now, what is incremental result? Maybe there was some seasonal effect and maybe your sales was going to boost anyway. Maybe it was the holiday season. So we do not want the sales that would have happened anyway without the ad. We just want the incremental sales. So this is why the phrase all else equal is very important in order for you to set up the experimental design in such a way that the both groups are have everything equal but the treatment. It is very important and it can be very complicated. So controlling all other variables sounds very easy, but it's not always. And sometimes we need to make do with whatever solution we have and settle for however close we can get to the optimum result. So for instance, you are rolling out an ad campaign in two geographic regions. One is New York, and the other one may be like another state that you think is very similar to New York. And you see, you show one of those states the treatment and the advertisement, and the other one you don't. And you infer that this increase in sales is due to advertising campaign. However, remember, even though like there could be similar states like New York, maybe in terms of weather and things like that, but nothing is like there is no other state that is exactly like New York. It still has its uniqueness and other characteristics that makes it stand out from the rest of the states. So you are introducing bias whenever you are two groups are not similar, but sometimes it's just not possible to eliminate all the bias that is there. So how would you decide between experimental or observational? Remember, observational is when you do not have any control over the variables and you are just, going, there is no experimental design, there's no planning, you are just observing people and you are still trying to distinguish between people who were exposed to that versus who were not exposed to the ad, but you do not know if for sure if everything else about them is equal. So that's why it is less scientific, but it's still a method. So you will consider things like budget and resources, whether it is feasible to have control over variables, timing, whether the evaluation is conducted during or after campaign. You may have decided to like gauge the performance of an advertisement after the campaign was launched. So at that point, you don't have any resources, or you can go back in time and plan things. So you can only do observational methods. And desired accuracy. And budget is also a consideration, because in order to set up experiments and have people behave in a certain way, and maybe you don't want to see them the ad, and the ad is running on social media, so you have to make sure they stay away from social media for those few days that you are running the experiment. So you need to give those people some sort of incentives. Otherwise, why would they cooperate with your experiment? So that's why it needs some resources and budget. So the hypothesis. So now we are going to talk about how we are going to operationalize the research plan or the experiment. So there comes hypothesis. It is rooted in the SMART goals again. And the SMART goal is we talked about, it's the overarching objectives that is guiding the organization. And the hypothesis is a proposed explanation for an observation. It is like a hunch, like I have a hunch that this will happen if we do this. So that's like you are testing your hunch, like whether it is true or not. A strong hypothesis addresses all these questions about like who the target market is and what is being measured, and where, when, and why. So let's see an example. So the smart goal could be to increase online sales 20% over the next year. Now going back to Sarah's coffee shop, which is Bliss Bean Cafe, the very basic form of the hypothesis would be college students are more likely to respond to our ad campaign. Okay, this is good, but this does not specify enough for the marketer or the analyst to, assess the performance of the ad. College students who live within 2 miles of Bean Bliss Cafe are more likely to respond to our ad campaign that promotes a limited time buy one, get one free latte deal. So this is getting better. And the strongest version would be if you add the why, especially when the ad is shown during late night study hours, as data shows they often seek coffee during these hours. Now, the tricky thing about null and alternate hypothesis is the default is always no effect. So you are assuming, so this is because the statisticians are conservative, and they do not want to overestimate or exaggerate their expectations. So they always, by default, they expect that there is no effect. And the alternative is there is an effect. And the objective here is to reject the null. It might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but if you keep on practicing hypothesis testing, it will become very easy for you. So the null is that there is no incremental lift in conversions. And the alternative is that there is incremental lift in conversions. So there are the few other terms that you should know in order to familiarize yourself with hypothesis testing and all. The independent variable is also called the treatment variable. The dependent variable is also called the outcome variable. And the control group is also sometimes called the holdout group in experiments. So treatment variable, a specific campaign such as study boost campaign or buy one get one latte campaign. So the treatment variable has to be a specific campaign, not just any campaign or a campaign. It has to be a specific campaign. Now, let's take a deeper dive on what experiment is. The origin of experiments goes back to the agricultural age. So the farmers were really interested in learning what makes their crops grow, and they would change only one thing over one harvest period to understand like what makes their crops grow fastest, and use that wisdom in the next year to use it with leverage it to make their crops grow bigger, or like harvest get a bigger harvest. So this is not nothing new. It's like an age-old tradition. There is always a treatment group and there is always a control group. The treatment group is treated with something, whereas control group is specifically not given that treatment. They make a note that they do not get the treatment at all. So take an example of plant A and plant B. So let's say you buy two plants and they are of similar size, and you decide to like give plant A no fertilizer, whereas you decide to give plant B as a fertilizer, and they both get the same amount of water and sunlight over a period of maybe a month. And at the end of 1 month, you measure the two plants and you see that the plant B grew faster, bigger. So then you can infer that it's the fertilizer that made the difference. So advertising effectiveness also works in a similar fashion. Like you choose two groups of people that are as similar as possible. You expose one of them to the ad, and you do not expose them to the ad, to another group to the ad, and you infer the results and you attribute the results to the treatment. Only if everything else is equal. Remember, we cannot play around too many things. We cannot change too many things at once, because then we do not know what is the thing, like if it's a campaign A, or whether it is like something else that is causing the increase in sales. So think about it this way, like there is an everyday analogy. Like let's say you change your haircut, you get a new haircut, and then you get a new shirt, and you go to the office and everyone compliments you, but you don't know like whether it's the shirt or the haircut. So that's why the idea is the same here. So you want to change one thing at a time to really understand whether it's the haircut that is working. Random control trials. It's a very, very important concept to measure the incremental impact of an experiment. It is the process of assigning people to different groups by chance. Study design that randomly assigns participants into a treatment or a control group. Let's say you pick, Sarah decides to pick her control group from a bunch of people who, like at a time, from her coffee shop when most of the like younger generation people visit. And she picks her treatment group at a time when an older group visits. So if everything else is still equal, so she goes above and beyond to make sure these two groups are one of them sees the ad and the other one does not see that. There is still a bias. There is going to be some age-related bias within the two groups, because the random group was the control group was recruited from a population where there is mostly younger people, and the control group was recruited from a population where there is mostly older people. So we do not want to measure those, the effects of those demographics. We are only interested in learning whether our buy one, get one latte worked or not. So that's why RCT, or randomized control trial, are important. Another very important concept is intention to treat. Human behavior is very difficult to predict. So let's say you are running an ad and you pick the two groups in a very randomized way. You shuffle things up. You do not like have like only one age group in one group and then that in only another age group in another group. But there is a caveat though, like what if the people you recruited, those randomized people, are still taking a break from social media when my campaign is running? So I meant for them to take, be exposed to the ad, but they ended up not seeing the ad. Now, should I reassign them to the control group? Well, I can, but if I do that, all my efforts to randomize those two groups and make them as similar as possible will all go in vain, because remember we were specifically trying to have those two groups randomized, and if we keep reassigning back one group, people from one group to another, then it's not randomized anymore or diverse anymore. It will become like complicated. So ITT, the principle of ITT tells us that keep all experiment participants in the group they were originally assigned to, regardless of they see or do not see, because your intention was to treat, but they chose not to take that treatment. So we don't have control over that. Hard to achieve significant results. So this can sometimes undermine your results. So like the advertising result might be a little less inflated when you do that, when you have this principle in effect. Now, interpreting results, we either accept or reject the null. There are two parts of the result: the incremental effect of your effect caused by your treatment, like how much did our sales increase, and another thing is the measure of confidence in the result. So this confidence interval is the likelihood that the same result would be repeated if the experiment was carried out in the same manner. Now, before we go to the last section of our workshop, I have a poll for you guys. I see two people have answered. I will close it in 30 seconds, 10 seconds remaining. Okay, it looks like some of you almost got it. Remember, there was an option A and D, so the right answer would be A and D. Like it is also both called control group and holdout group. So some of you got partly correct, like 50% said that the control group is the answer, which is correct, but holdout group is also the answer. So yeah, it's very close. So what is A/B testing? Now, in A/B testing, there is no incremental lift. It's not really like an experiment. There is no control group, and you only change one aspect at a time. This is very similar to the experimental, like you only change one aspect. However, there is no control group. You just know which ad. So instead of comparing an ad campaign with the baseline, that is no ad campaign, you are maybe your creative team is coming up with two different, like there is a debate between two of your very bright creative people, that like one of them wants the campaign to be positioned as something and the other one wants the campaign to be positioned as something else. So you as a manager, you are in a dilemma. So that's when you run A/B testing. Okay, so let's take both people's opinion and see which one is working better. So now you are competing. There are two competing ad campaigns instead of one against the baseline, which is not no campaign. So it not only optimizes ads, it also optimizes creative, bid strategies, and targeting. So the web designers, like app developers, they use different layouts of their app or website to see which layout is drawing more attention or traffic. So A/B testing always has a clear winner. So let's say this ad got more traction. So this would be version A would be the winner. whereas keeping everything else constant. Remember, this is not a measure of effectiveness. So what I mean by that is that your campaign A could be only increase, it could only have like 0.001% incremental effect. And the campaign B maybe only had like like 5%, 0.0005 incremental effect. So 0.001 is greater than 0.0005, so you pick A as the winner. However, both has a very poor incremental effect. So it does not give you the big, more comprehensive picture of like maybe your advertisement costs millions, the campaign costs millions. Is it worth to spend that much money to get just 0.005% increment? That's something to think about, right? It depending on how big the company is, like 0.005% could be a big number, but still, like it's not a very like a comprehensive measure, so you still need the incremental lift. So there is like I said, like web designers, graphical UX designers, they use A/B testing all the time to see how different layouts are affecting people, and how there's a lot of psychology behind it. So how different colors and shapes and sizes affect people's decisions and choices. For instance, you might think like this is such a small change, like being used A/B testing, and they got tremendous results. Like the control color was this shade of blue, and the treatment color was this shade of blue, and the control color for green is very, very similar to the treatment color. And there was a slightly light black or gray version in the treatment for black. And by changing this, making the small changes, being increased like their annual revenue by more than 10 million. So imagine how small changes can have a huge disproportionate effect on a company. Now, A/B testing is not something like you just do once and then forget about it. It's most companies use it as a continuous basis for improvement. So so for instance, you learn that your version A is the winner. So the version A at campaign A becomes the baseline, and then a few days later, you test A against another version of the campaign, which is C, and then you compare the A with C, and maybe then C is the winner, and then C becomes the baseline, and then you compare with D, and so it goes on. So it's not it's a continuous process. Now, there could also be like a little more complicated experimental designs, which is called, so far we have been discussing single cell, and there could be also multi-cell. So you get to measure, you get to compare both ad A and B versus no ads. So that now you know both the incremental effects as well as like the winner between A and B. So let's take an example. Going back to Sarah's coffee shop, the Bean Bliss Cafe, Sarah decides to invest in Facebook and Instagram ads, but is unsure of what type of ad will attract more customers. She has two ad ideas: the Morning Saver, a bold, direct ad with a special discount for customers who order before 10 a.m. And then there's ad B, which is your cozy coffee spot, a storytelling style ad that emphasizes the cafe's ambience, premium coffee, and cozy vibes. So we would test one against the other and see which one gives us most incremental effect against if we had none of this. So that's how we get the incremental effect. So what if we did not run any ad at all? So this will give us the incremental effect of both and help us decide which one is better. There is another type of more advanced design, but we are not going to go into that too much. just on a high level, like there could be a nested test within a test. So for instance, like you are running like a year-round ad campaign that is not specific to any season or holiday or anything else. You're running that all year, and you hold out one group and you do not show the year-round one to the control group. But within the group that you do show the year-round campaign, you divide that, you split that cell, you split that group into two parts where you decide to show one of those groups the fall ad campaign, and the other one does not see any spring ad campaign. So you then based on that, there could be like a deeper like understanding of how people are reacting based on how one ad on top of another ad combined with another ad is influencing user behavior. Yeah, so let's see a hands-on implementation. Can everyone quickly download this data set that we will be using tonight? Okay, I'm gonna launch the second poll. It will remain active for exactly 1 minute, and I want all the participants to participate. Good try, but the result is actually lower because remember when you intended to treat them with the advertisement, but they did not end up seeing the result. So whatever sales you ended up with is being attributed to more people than actually who actually saw. So if you divide the same number by a bigger number, then the answer is smaller. So that's the concept. So if you divide the same number with a bigger denominator, the answer will be smaller. So you are spreading out the effect of the advertisement, which is the sales, on more people than actually participated. So the effect is lower. Can you please open a Google Colab notebook? I will just be giving you the codes, and we're gonna do this together. So I will upload my file, which is the A/B testing. Okay, and I will share this, copy this path. So this is the first step. It's going to be a very quick implementation, I promise. Remember, you have to upload the file to here, to your folder files here, and then you copy the path and then access it from here. And the second step is calculating the conversion rate. So going to our ads, there were two versions of the ad in the data set, remember? Version A and B. So the click-through rate for A is like B is higher, and the conversion rate also for B is higher. Now let's perform the chi-square test for statistical significance. This is the second step. Let's perform the chi-square test. So we see that it's significant because it's less than, p-value is less than 0.05. And then finally the interpretation. So there is the difference in click-through rates is statistically significant, and also the difference in conversion rates is statistically significant. So that means the campaign B is the winner here. So this is as simple as that. Like you just have to, once the experimental, like the design is set up properly, it's very easy to calculate. So the last and final poll of tonight. You see 4 people have participated and 4 more remaining. Polls are anonymous, so you can just go ahead and click one. Okay, let's see. The correct answer is there is no control group. So this one, 60% of the people got correct. So how are we feeling about A/B testing tonight? It can be an intriguing topic, like just think about what Microsoft Bing did and plenty of other companies are doing, just changing small little things and then getting big results. It can be very exciting. Any questions?
Could you please repeat the topic, the topic for tonight's discussion? I just want to link it back to what you have done.
The entire topic or any specific?
No, just the entire topic of what was advertised.
Measuring advertising effectiveness. That's the our advertising in the data analytics in advertising.
Okay, very well. All righty. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, and I can share the slides if anyone wants to go over them, and I can also share this notebook in case anyone is interested. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too. All the best. And
Bye.
this falls as part of the master's program?
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I do not teach it, but I'm sure there is a course on data analytics, hypothesis testing. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us tonight, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.